Space Marine 2 recently released Update 4.0, and whilst there were some positives, like the new operations level, there was also a lot of problems that didn't go down very well with the gaming community. These problems created a backlash to the update, with a torrent of negative Steam reviews and shared frustration on Reddit, to the point where Sabre Interactive did something that game studios are not known for doing. They acknowledged the community feedback, accepted that mistakes were made, and quickly released Update 4.1, which addresses the problems that Update 4.0 introduced. Before I get into what the new patch contains, there was an announcement that came with the release of this patch, which is that public test servers will be set up in the near future. These test servers will allow the public to test out new updates in servers isolated from the rest of the game, allowing the developers to receive feedback and make any necessary modifications before the updates are pushed out to the full game. This is definitely a good idea and may avoid the kind of criticism that was levelled against Update 4.0 from happening in the future. The patch for the most part removes or changes a lot of what the Update 4.0 introduced, excluding the addition of a new operations level where you get to kill a Tyranid Bio-Titan with giant las cannons, because there's nothing wrong with a new level and a giant monster to kill. Update 4.0 brought in a new operations mode difficulty level called Lethal Difficulty. The introduction of this mode in itself was not an issue, as there are people who want a huge challenge when playing the game, and there's zero requirement for those who don't want the extreme difficulty to touch it. However, some changes were made. The tight formation mechanic was introduced with lethal mode that made it so that finishing moves only restore armor if you are close to your teammates, a mechanism that received a lot of criticism. This was especially an issue if you're playing as a diverse team with different playstyles, like a sniper and an assault class, one of which stays at a distance and the other fights close up and personal, which makes this new mechanic a huge hindrance. As a result, the tight formation mechanic was completely removed. Update 4.0 heavily nerfed both the Melter Bomb and Auspex scan when used against bosses. This was an unnecessary adjustment. The Melter Bomb was already hard to use, as it requires the bomb to be placed and the target to be lured into the kill zone, as bomb which is now doesn't seem to be worth the effort of using, especially as it takes up an item slot that could be used for grenades instead. Update 4.1 makes no mention of the Melter Bomb or the Auspex scan. However, there has been some changes to address the weak damage output of the various bolter weapon variants, a regular complaint for a while now. As a result, all of the bolter variants have received a welcome damage upgrade. A big criticism of Update 4.0 was the enemy spawn director, which changed the number and type of enemy spawns, especially extremist class enemies. The justification for this was that the success rate for completing operations had risen and there were complaints that the mode had become too easy, so the idea was to increase the number of enemies to counter that. However, the changes that were brought were criticised, resulting in the amount of extremist class enemies that spawn in the minimal, average and substantial difficulty mode being reverted back to pre-patch 4.0 levels, with the number of spawns in the ruthless difficulty being reduced. Something that was changed with Update 4.0 and remained unchanged in this patch is the constant announcer messages in Eternal War, which were infuriating. I don't need someone to tell me that the enemy is holding the objective. I can clearly see that, especially when at times you would get a few announcements in rapid succession right after each other, so I'm glad that their frequency has been reduced. There was also general bug fixes and updates to address the stability of the servers in both patches. The server issues have been present from the start, though they did get better with previous updates. Personally, I've only had one technical issue since Update 4.0 was released, when I was disconnected from a game due to a server error. Whilst patch 4.0 did not get the reception that Focus Entertainment were hoping for, I'm glad that they took note of the community's feedback and quickly made changes. The test servers are, as I said before, a good idea, one that will no doubt be well received and should hopefully improve the quality of later updates. If you got this far, I want to thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this review, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye for now.